Hey guys, this is Jukebox from Legion XIII. Just wanted to run through with you a recent game of ours played on the Airsoft side at Panther Airsoft here in British Columbia. As you can see here, a little bit of joking around. What we were just doing before I started the camera was discussing plans for this very brief scenario. The scenario is fairly simple. It's a patrol and ambush scenario. Our squad, Legion XIII, along with Walking Dead and a few others, were the team on patrol, and the Aces and Eights, along with some other individuals, were on the ambush side. It was our job to make it from Eagles Pass, the bridge we're standing on now, all the way over to Central Bunker. Obviously with minimal losses and by clearing the ambush team. So it was agreed that Poi would initially take point with his group of people. We would bring up the rear, and that we would separate. They take the right side, which is along the riverbank, and we would take the high ground across the ridge line and sweep through to an area we know as Choke Point, where the airsoft side of the field narrows as the river takes a dog leg in. That shooting you just heard had absolutely nothing to do with our patrol. It's actually a totally different game going on the other side of the river.
Audio contact with flank. Blair, swing left, let's take that high ground and then plateau.
So the rules for this game were you only had one life, so single elimination, and as a result we were all taking it relatively slow. There was no time limit involved in this. Obviously nobody wanted to be the first one out, and so we're all being careful and just making sure that we're really making every effort to check corners, check pushes, all that sort of stuff. So that was Poi just radioing over to us to let us know him and his squad had seen at least 3 targets moving up on top of the ridge where we're about to make it up onto there. And so it's just passing that information on to Blitz behind me, letting him know the approximate direction. Here I'm asking Blitz and Merlin to swing down and left where I thought I had heard those audio contacts to make sure that that left side is in fact clear. So when we come out up on top, we don't get hit from the side. Right about here, can't really see it in the video too well, but I've actually just seen at least 1, maybe 2 bodies running across the ridge line to try and meet us at the far side of this area that we refer to as Hilltop. That was Dave just radioing to let me know that he had one at his 12 o'clock on the other side of this clearing as the trees kind of pick back up. So one of the important things to do as a commander, squad leader, is to often just remind people of what they already know. All of us are relatively experienced players. We know what we need to do. It's not like you need to be told, but a reminder tends to reassure your guys that they're on the right track, that they're good to go, and assures them that you as the squad leader understand what's going on. This goes a long way towards team morale and building confidence in your teammates and your capabilities. This very often can make the difference between victory and defeat.
Go, break left, break left. Pen up! Copy!
That breakout didn't go exactly as planned. Schoolboy ended up hanging back there just because he had lost sight of the target. I managed to make it into position and decided to exchange fire with somebody who was at relatively extreme range. Neither of us really had effective fire at this point, and where he was in a puddle of darkness with nothing but his face really visible when he leaned out. The likelihood of either one of us getting an accurate shot was slim to none, so at this point it was just basically wasting BBs. However, part of the reason why I was doing that was to keep attention on myself, and here I'm trying to wait it out so that Dave Blair can push down into the right, hopefully get into a better position to start putting pressure on their right flank. What I had Blitz and Merlin do, however, was stay below the ridge line so that they didn't break out and reveal themselves, and swing further left. Hopefully put a tree or two between them and the guys who are engaging us to allow them to get up and onto the top of the plateau, find some cover before they started taking fire. Again, things start to get a little quiet here as I'm just basically killing time, waiting for all the assets to get into position.
My 12, I've got one. He's pretty much on a dog leg of the tape line.
Here you see one of the stronger skill sets that we have. We may not be the best gunfighters or the best fieldcraft individuals, but when it comes to communication and sharing information, this is one of our highest priorities as a team. We look at it like every individual has a slightly different view of the field, and what you can see may be limited, but when you start adding the information of your fellow teammates, you get a much clearer idea of the overall playing area, what it looks like, where the opposing team is, and so you can function better. You have more information to make better decisions. Communication is absolutely vital, and it's very often, again, another key to success or defeat. Teams that are quiet, that are silent, that don't communicate, tend to not function quite as well as teams that do communicate. There again, you may have heard me use the term ghost or ghosting a little bit earlier there. What we're referring to here is a technique where you place a tree between you and whoever it is that you're trying to come up on so that they can't see you, you can't see them. And you're able to obscure yourself and cover ground without necessarily having to sprint or put covering fire out or something like that. So there we've managed to take one of the 3 known targets out. What I'm looking for is I knew that there were 2 targets on that tape line, and I wasn't sure whether it was the close one or the far one taken out. There you hear James let me know that there's one back left, so I know the closer player has been eliminated. However, the further back player is still in and on that left side. So at this point, I'm not really sure what happened. There I thought I had seen somebody. There was 3 strikes. In other words, 3 guys that we had eliminated. But I still wasn't sure if there was another person we were dealing with or what was going on, because I had just seen a 4th person through the netting. And as you can hear, I'm trying to get some clarification now as to how many we've eliminated, how many are up, where they are, what's going on. A slight little bit of a communication problem. Just sort of, disproving what I've said just a short moment ago about how great our communications are. Sometimes we have our glitches. It's important when you're working with another squad to always let them know what's going on. It's very easy to get locked into the moment, locked into the gunfight, and forget that there are other units out there that often are relying on you to do something before they do something else. So Hoy had decided to hold up and wait for us to clear this upper area. The reason being, he didn't want to push too far ahead of us, expose his backside to any flankers coming down from our position. And he didn't want to abandon us in case it turned out that we needed more help. So me informing him we've taken care of the problem clears him and the remaining members of his squad to move on up through the low ground on that trail and start taking position. So just a point on why we did what we did here. I told Schoolboy and Dave Blair to stay high, Blair with the LMG, while the rest of us pushed through low. The reason being is that upper ridgeline is quite narrow and slippery and would force us into a single file line across the top of the ridgeline. What that does is 2 things. 1, it makes us easy to kill because we're all lined up in a row like ducks. 2nd, it limits our ability to return fire. Because of the line, you can't really return fire. There's a head in front of you that belongs to your buddy. So it didn't make any sense for all of us to stay up on top. However, the high ground does give you better reach with your airsoft guns. So I decided to make the sacrifice. Some of us will drop low and clear through this lower ground, which allows us to push up while leaving the LMG with a higher rate of fire and the greater capacity of BBs to provide overwatch for us and put pressure on that one target while we try to find any others. Now, taking the low ground for those of us that went that route does surrender some of the advantage to the other side potentially. However, by spreading out our targets, it also makes it much harder for them to eliminate multiple members of the squad in short order, and gives us the ability to keep taking ground and keep putting pressure on them mentally and physically, while still maintaining some cover from the LMG on the high ground. Here you can see an excellent example of why I am no longer allowed to take point for the team. I tend to pick the hardest possible route to go through, and the guys are sick and tired of following me through mud that goes up to your knees. So at this point we had cleared out all of the known defenders. We still had one known contact up high left hand side that was retreating downhill. But we had nothing on the right and couldn't see anything else in the choke point. This is going to bring to close part 1 of this little patrol. Look for part 2 coming out soon. Let us know what you think. Hit us up in the comments, like, subscribe, you know the usual deal, and we'll catch you next time.